Hello, everyone. My name is Bing Navato. I am a domestic worker here in Singapore. I've been working here for 25 years. So back home, I'm also a mother of three, and my children are all grown up. They have their own families. So now I'm a grandmother of seven at 48. And
Yeah,
here,
sorry, Bing. Sorry. You remember last year when we worked together, and you told me that you were a grandmother, and I was like, what? I really thought you were lying that you're a grandmother. Yeah,
yeah,
sorry. I just had to point that out.
I am a young grandmother, but but I cannot ask for more. I mean, I'm very thankful that at my young age, I can see my grandchildren, even from afar. I can see them through video calls. I'm very happy with that. So here, as aside from being a domestic worker, I am a volunteer of Home. It is an organization that helps migrant workers here, especially domestic workers. So I'm part of the help desk team. What I do there is I help to give advices to my fellow domestic workers. There are times that they encountered problems with their works, employers, or agencies. So I will be one of the volunteers who will help them to give solutions. If it happens to them. And I'm also a part of Migrant Fighters of Singapore. I write poems. I write stories. So basically, my story because I think it's very interesting. And I'm a storyteller, and I'm also a volunteer of National Gallery Singapore. So what I do there is I give tour to my fellow domestic workers. We are trained to do that, by the way. Yes, me and my fellow sister colleagues. So those are some of the things that I do here.
Oh wow, that's actually a lot of stuff, Bing. Like, I only do one thing. I take photos, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, okay. Like, how do you get the time to, do all these things while also, literally looking after an entire household? How does that work?
Yeah, a lot of people ask me that when I tell them about these volunteering activities that I have. But I'm very thankful that I have very good employers who help me, and they give me Saturday afternoon off days too and Sundays. And even though when they're busy, they still help me out. It is not just me doing the housework. When they're done, sometimes at work, they will help out to take care of the kids so we can do everything here. And about my activities, Saturday is my me day. Like I can do anything that I want because Sunday is my activities for volunteering. But it's not, they have different times that I do this thing. So I just schedule it and then, give time to it because it's my passion, especially the one that I'm doing with home. Yes, it's a passion. I can do that every day because I'm just answering calls and giving advices.
And okay, when you talk about this work that you do with home, this volunteer work that you do with home, that is with the help desk, right? And like,
Yes.
what are the kind of situations? Of course, like the ones that you can talk about, of course. What are just examples of the type of situations that some domestic helpers find themselves in that they need to actually reach out to you all for?
Many of them experience verbal abuse. So it is the often complaints that we receive. Sometimes I feel like when they complain, I thought like I can tell them to just ignore it and continue working as long as they don't physically abuse you or hurt you. But the thing is that, when someone tell you bad things every day, like bad things about you, like stupid, you're lazy. And recently, I just heard one of the domestic worker that I talked to, her employer told her that, your family will suffer just because you borrowed money from others and you don't know how to pay. Your family will suffer back home, and I will call police and let you rot in jail. So those are the things. And this domestic worker was really scared that something bad will happen to her. So it is not good because the words will keep coming into her. That's why she decided to call home. And yeah, those are the things. Basically, it's more on verbal abuse. But what I realize is that this cannot be ignored, right? Because it is the same as physical abuse. It's still an abuse. And they shouldn't do that to domestic workers.
You mentioned that verbal abuse is still abuse. Maybe you can help us understand a bit better this thing, because like perhaps there's the perception that some people have that as long as I'm not hitting or I'm not physically doing something to you, oh, it's okay because it's just words only. Like some people just think that way, and they think that it is okay for them to verbally abuse another human being. And there are consequences to something like that. Maybe you can like just take us through like what your impression of verbal abuse is, and how serious can something like that be, despite what people say that, oh, it's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, for me, that's why I said it is also the same thing as physical abuse, because it is kind of like a mental torture for someone. For example, for a domestic worker, knowing that these people are alone here, we are alone here. Our family is back home, and we're staying with our employer's house. So if there are employers who do that to their domestic workers, who mentally abuse them, they're still in they're like in the cage. And mental torture is worse because you just keep on thinking about it. No matter what you do, you will never be happy, and it will affect your mental health. And that's why we cannot ignore that. If someone will say, uh, this person is telling me, oh, bad things, that uh, I don't have hope, like I'm good for nothing. It is not good because you're just pushing a person down all the time. And for these domestic workers, I mean, if you tell them you're lazy, and you see how clean your house is, and you keep seeing that she's working every day, how can you say that? So it means that she will think
That's
that
a
I'm
very good
not good
point.
enough, right? I have a case that not a case. I mean, there's a domestic worker who told me before that every time she made a mistake, her employer will deduct $1 from her salary. And if she made a mistake, the employer will ask her to write that I will not repeat it again. It is like like a child, like a grown up punishing a child, kind of like that. So when I talked to her, I said, um, can you still, stay, or maybe just want to leave? Because it is not good that, your employer is treating you like that. But you know what she said? She said, I think it's okay because I think I'm at fault too because I cannot remember things. That's what my employer said, and she's right. I cannot remember things. Then I said, no, it's not like that. I mean, it is not an excuse for her to do that to you, to punish you like that. So it is kind of like for her, she was brainwashed already, and she's new. So they think that here it is a kind of, how employer treats their domestic worker, and it is not really good. So I've handled a lot of calls saying that they are verbally abused. So every time I try to ask them questions, I will just tell them, if you cannot stay anymore, then just leave. Rather than, you will suffer, or you will stress yourself, you will fall ill, or something might happen.
Right. So, like, being like you mentioned something that was very interesting, that they are brainwashed. That my impression of something like that is that the domestic helper may feel that she has no choice, and so she starts agreeing with her employer, even though it's not true, and the domestic helper starts to actually believe that, oh, like in this case, for example, like I really don't know how to do this, so I deserve that $1 to be cut off from my salary. Is this a sign of a certain psychological issue that comes out of this type of abuse that an employer inflicts on the domestic helper?
Yes, yes. And I'm also surprised that, uh, there was news before about employers, physically abusing their domestic workers, and they were punished. They went to jail, and because remember the Myanmar domestic worker, and then there's another one that was in the news. So, I mean, I know everybody read that news, and still employers, don't really care how they treat their domestic workers. And it is not like a healthy environment for a domestic worker already, because um, they really suffer, but at the end they felt like, I have no choice, because I come here to work, and maybe this is their standard, so I will just adjust myself, into them. Maybe I'm at fault. So it is not the way you should guide your domestic worker, especially for the new. You should treat them as a family, know them, ask them, like, how have you been? So do you like the family? So it is. I mean, conversation is a good thing to do at first, because they're still in adjustment period. So, like, committing mistakes is normal. If they're already 1 year and they still don't know what they're doing, then just let them go, rather than, abusing them.
Right. And okay, and what about towards the psychological aspects of the employer then? Do you feel that when it comes to the employers, are there already certain unresolved issues or certain unaddressed issues with them psychologically, that they, you know, inflict this type of abuse on a domestic helper, or is it something more purposefully done, or is it both? Because when I look at when we read some of the cases that are put out in the newspaper, or we hear about it and stuff like that, some of the details can be very uncomfortable to read or listen to. I'm not talking just about verbal abuse at this point of time. I'm also talking about physical abuse. So trigger warning to everyone. We might be moving into something that may be uncomfortable for some of y'all to listen to. So please, please, if you feel uncomfortable, you can skip this segment of this conversation that I'm having with Bing. So yeah, Bing, back to what I was saying, that is there really something wrong? Like, can we actually say that, or are we actually undermining the abuse, or are we actually making excuses for the abuse, or the abuser? Sorry, if we want to try and understand the psychology of the abuser as well, the employer who abuses. Yeah, what do you think?
I think it is purposely done because it's their character. It's in the character. That's how they behave. I don't think that um, just yeah. Because when I read the news, I was I keep reading it, and it is um, it is not just one person; it's two person. She's in a family, and you know, uh, one can stop that person to do that, right? But instead, they just let it happen.
Right,
So I think
right.
it is a behavior, or that's how they think of. I think they thought she's a slave, and she don't have a right to do anything rather than uh, work and work. Like she's not a human being. She's a slave. How they view her. And what caused that problem is that it brought me to the this one of my interviews before. There are many domestic workers who are not allowed to have phones, who are not allowed to talk to someone. So if this very open, like every domestic workers is allowed to have a phone, they know who to call to. These things might not happen. There are many domestic. I have an interview before that there is an agency who even told the employer, even tell the employer that confiscate your domestic workers. It is even in a contract because we
Confiscate
think
their
that
belongings, is it,
the
or
phone,
their
yeah,
phones
the
and
phones,
stuff like
yeah,
that? Okay,
yeah.
okay, wow, okay,
One
okay,
agency said, I can give you the link later of my interview.
okay, okay,
It
sure.
was,
Like I'm
it
sure a lot
was,
of people would want to send some questions over to that agency. I would love to ask them
yeah,
how they think that something like this is actually ethical.
yeah, because if you look around, everybody, even a kid, has their phone. So at least when they feel that they are not safe, they can call their parents. It is the same for domestic workers. If they feel that they are not safe in this environment or with their employer, they can call. But one thing I don't understand is why they confiscate the domestic workers' phone. And many employers are not allowing domestic workers to talk to someone or even like go out. Even before COVID, there are many domestic workers who are locked inside the house. So when they call for help, they can just throw a paper, please help me, or call their neighbors because some of them they don't even have a key. So why
Wow.
do they treat
Okay.
domestic workers like that? So it is. I have received calls like that. So when I ask them like maybe if you cannot do it anymore, then just leave. I cannot leave. I don't have a key. Sometimes
Okay.
they left her inside the house without any keys. What if something will happen to her? Then I said maybe you can look for the lock, those people who can unlock you. Yeah.
The
So those are the
locksmith,
things.
right? Yeah.
The locksmith, yeah. So if you feel like, yeah, it's if there's like a danger that will happen to you inside the house. But yeah, I think that leads to that incident about the Burmese domestic worker. Phone is very important because for us domestic workers, our family needs to know what's happening to us. Our families and friends back home, especially those people, they need to know. And we need to know what's happening to them too. Right? So it never happens to our employers. All of them have their phones 24 hours, 24/7, yeah, and nobody take it away from them. Why do they do that?
Like you said, the having a phone is very important. Like, what if it was a medical emergency? The domestic helper was sick, or suddenly became unwell, or something like that. What if there was a fire in the house? What and she doesn't have a key to get out of the house safely? What if I could think about like 100 situations of why something like this is not just a psychological or physical health risk, psychological or physical risk, but this just doesn't seem normal. It really just doesn't seem normal. Like, why is it still okay for agencies or employers to have such weird clauses in their contracts, and undermine the safety, or rather put the domestic helper in danger, and more than that, not even actually just treat them like a normal equal person.
That's one thing I really don't know too. That's why I keep asking like why it still happens.
And okay, like, if it's not the why, then the how. How can we change this? Like, it's ridiculous being like listening
I
to something
know.
like this, where I couldn't imagine like what it would be like for me to maybe be out on like a photo walk, or something, and suddenly I lose my phone and I don't know where I am. Like, I would be afraid. I would be like, suddenly like this changes, because our phones have become such a important part of our lives, right? And like, when you take away that opportunity to, like, call for assistance, or something like that, like whatever it may be, like maybe even just call a friend for the fun of it, like that is a person's basic right to do whatever they want, in their free time, or with their own belongings. Like they have a right to have their belongings on them. Like it just
Yeah.
it seems so weird. Like I don't get it. I don't
It's
get it at
really
all.
weird.
Like
It's
I'm
weird.
smiling, not because I don't take this seriously. I'm smiling just like because like I don't understand it, and I don't like it as well. Like, it's triggering. It's triggering to hear something like that. Like, how can we change this? How can the people who are listening to this help to change this just stupid clauses that exist?
Yeah. So I think we I mean they should educate agents first because there are lots of new employers and they don't even know what to do, right? They don't even know how to um, like, okay, how should I treat my domestic worker? Because I've experienced that. I have a neighbor here who wants to hire a domestic worker, but then she doesn't know like uh, how to treat her, like how should I address her, how to what are her needs. So it's a good thing she talked to me. So I told her that you should do this and do this and do that. So it, I think every agent should know. But domestic workers are not commodities. They are not materials. They are human beings. Okay? And they came from different countries. They are migrants. So it means their families are back home. So agents and employers should think that, when they come here, they need first thing they need is to communicate with their family, that let their family knows that they're okay, they have a job here, they're doing good here with their employers. I think that's the most important thing. And then yeah, just allow, just treat domestic worker like human being, just like you. I mean, you employers go to work, they have colleagues, everybody has a phone. Treat them like your kids, like the part of the family. I think every person in the family has their phones. Treat them like that. I mean, that's how they can solve it. And the most important thing is to know your domestic worker, because if you understand where they came from, uh, you will know. You will just let her. If you don't want her to use phones, I mean, you can tell her that, while you're working, please avoid to use phone. But during your break time, you can call your family or friends. It's very important to communicate this, especially at this time. I think that's how it will be solved, and not just confiscate. I have a domestic worker who told me before her phone was locked in a pouch. They, the employer even put a padlock on it, and they asked. I posted it on my Facebook. They asked, like, then how did she call you? I said she called the neighbor. She borrowed the phone. That's why her phone is inside the pouch, so she can only get it at 10. So at 10, her families are already sleeping. So how can she communicate with them? So those are the things that, I mean, those are the types of examples of domestic workers abuse. And it led to stress or depression.
And is this a so like before I actually ask my question, like I'm just gonna say something that I was thinking of, like, reasons why employers may want to do something like that. Of course, there can be no good reason at all. So I'm just gonna, like, avoid that I'm just going to avoid trying to even understand why employers would want to do something like that, because it's incredibly stupid. I'm sorry,
True.
there's no other word to use for something like this. You put somebody else's life in danger, and you restrict their communication with their family. You see, employer, but I just feel personally that nobody has a right to tell you when you should speak to your own family members. Like,
Yeah.
they can control, like for example, how it is for us when we go to work. We need to be at a certain place at a certain point of time. We have to commit a certain number of hours as employees, but then we move on after work. It is about our family. Our employer has no right to tell us that if there is a medical emergency in my house, my employer has no right to tell me that, oh no, you have to work. Or I'm gonna fire you. If he fires me, like, obviously I'm gonna take it to MOM that this is unfair. Why is he doing something like that? But over here, this is a whole different thing altogether. Like with domestic helpers, why do we not see them as employees? Why do we see them as I hate using the word, but why do we see them as slaves? Like yeah, I don't get it. Like, why? I mean, like, maybe you can enlighten us about this.
It's true, right? We are not called employees. We are called maids. You're maids. But we call our employer our man and sir. We call them employers. So in their company, if they're employees, they have employers, so they're employees. Why also they? But for us, they don't call us employees. They call us maids, helpers, domestic workers. When you see them in the news, often the word is you see often is maid. Maids,
And
right?
is Bing, is that like a term that you guys as in as in like domestic helpers, is that a term that y'all identify with, being called a maid, or be like, is that something y'all identify with?
Yes,
Mm.
yes. I mean, that's our job. We are domestic workers, but that's how they address us. Maybe I think when you say construction worker, what they say, construction worker, they don't say employees. But when you work in a company, you're employees, right? So I don't know how will it change. But for
Right.
me, it's not that too important. I mean, for me, the most important thing is whether we are called maids, domestic workers, or helpers, but don't treat us like slaves. That's the most important thing because domestic workers are humans. We are human beings. We are grown-ups. We are not kids. We are not 12 years old who came here and worked. So don't treat us like fun. Uh, that's what I tell uh, some domestic workers if they come to me for advice. I will tell them that you should talk to your employers first. I mean, don't let them think that you're a kid. Like they can tell you anything they want to tell you, or treat you like that. Like, oh, you cannot go out because there are virus outside. I have one call before. She's been here for 6 months. She said she doesn't have an off day for a year. Then I said, why? Because my mom said there's COVID. Huh?
Again,
There's still
sorry,
COVID.
I didn't get that. What did her employer say?
I asked her because I asked her like, so when is your off day? Maybe we can meet up so that I can give you advice personally because I want to talk to you more. And then, so when is your off day? She said, I don't have an off day. Why? So I will not go out for a year. Then I said, what happened? My mom said there's COVID. And then, huh? There's
Okay.
COVID. Then that time it was normal, like, before this COVID increase again. It was like February, March. Yeah. So yeah. So they were treated like as she was treated like a child. Oh, there's COVID, don't go out.
Right, right. But okay, you see, like when people tell me things like that, of course, I do have friends who have domestic helpers, and thankfully, like I'm very proud of the people who are around me, that they are usually very respectful of their domestic helpers, and sometimes some of the information I get is by speaking to them as well. And there was one of my friend, her domestic helper, a very senior lady. She goes by like they call her mummy at home because she is a very senior lady by age. So she was just telling me very upfront and like in my face that you know these people, they say that cannot like all these young domestic helpers cannot go out and things like this because of COVID. Then what happens when you, the employer, gets contracts COVID? What happens when it's your kids that contract COVID? What happens if it's your friends who come over and spread COVID? Then what happens to me then? Because if you are telling me that for this period of time I cannot go out because of COVID, then like COVID is not going to discriminate between a domestic helper or a
True.
bank executive. Like everybody is equally vulnerable, right? So
People
like she put
definitely
it to me, yeah, she put it to me like as though like she was like almost shouting at me already. She was like, you go tell them lah, you did. Then I was like, okay, but yeah, she has a point. Like I could really understand why like her frustration was so obvious, because she has a point. Like has this become a new thing that some employers use to so-called dominate their domestic helpers?
Yeah, this is like a you know what is that? This is became an excuse for employers not to let their domestic workers. For example, the latest notice that it says, I think every employer received that notice that we are strongly encouraging domestic workers. It's not domestic worker; it says maids. I mean, the
Oh,
maids
yep.
to stay at home during this phase two tightening, right? So a lot of domestic workers are not allowed to go out anymore. So one of my friends says that they didn't say circuit breaker, they didn't say don't go out. They say strongly encourage. But then the way they pass it to their domestic worker is like you cannot go out. That's what MOM said. If you go out, they will catch you. So the notice explained there that if they need to buy something for themselves, they can just go out, or they need to run an errand, they can do it quickly and then come home. And then there's an explanation there, but it was not explained to some domestic workers. So it is kind of like unfair. And yeah, I'm thinking about it too. Like if domestic worker will go out, she can easily catch COVID. But their employers also keep going out. That's why some of the
Yep.
helpers, yeah, some of the helpers said that, yeah, my ma'am didn't allow me to go out, but they keep going out. They don't allow me to buy bread. Then who buy your bread? My sir buy my bread. Okay, so it means COVID will not,
That doesn't
go
even
to
make
the
sense,
virus
right?
will not go to him. It
That
doesn't make sense, but
it doesn't make sense.
I was laughing at it. Like, oh, he will not get COVID, but if you go out, COVID is like waiting for you. So those, I mean, those are the funny moments, but at the same time, it's sad for
Of course, of course.
some
Yeah.
domestic workers. But one thing that I really, like with some, especially the Filipino domestic workers, they just make jokes out of this. I mean, they are frustrated because they cannot go out, but they will make something funny out of it. They will post something about it and make, you know, I think that makes them happy in a sense of, like I'm in jail, because my mom said I cannot go out. But yeah, like today, there's a lot of them cannot go out.
And being like you and me, we worked together almost 1.5 years ago,
Yeah.
and the idea of that project was to try to let people know that the domestic helpers that we have in our homes, who are taking care of our household,
Yeah.
sometimes even our kids, our pets, uh, these people, they have so much more to them than just these responsibilities. Like for example, you have poetry, you have
Yeah.
writing, and there was a photographer, there was a teacher. It was also interesting to notice, but you know, since that 1.5 years ago, and up to now, I mean, it's not a very very long time, but there has been so much conversation that has taken place, especially within this 1 to 2 year period. Like, do you see any positive changes that is taking place, or even if it's negative changes, like I think we should talk about it as well. In general, do you see any changes since the last we spoke and the last we did the project together?
Um, for myself, there is, but for some domestic workers in the situation, because because of COVID, a lot of things changed. Like a lot of domestic workers were sent back. A lot of domestic workers suffered during COVID, during circuit breaker. They were just like waiting for the gate to open and run, escape. That's how I viewed it last time. Last year around April, May, yeah, those months last year was the time I received a lot of calls. Domestic workers being overworked. Some of them, even on their off days, they cannot rest because they don't have rooms to stay. So they sleep in the living room. I have spoken to a domestic worker who's been with the family for 12 years, and her things are still outside by the kitchen. That's her cabinet. So when she don't go out, she just sit there. She has a chair in the kitchen. She just sits there.
Wait, as in that is her space, a chair in the
Yeah,
kitchen.
yeah,
Okay, wow.
yeah. And I think she sleeps in the living room, but she cannot. I've been, I don't know. She stopped communicating with me. I don't know if she went back already, but um, she cannot. Uh, Her salary is too low. I think it's only 500, 550 for 12 years, even until now. I said the minimum now is like 600. And you've been with them for 12 years. But for her job is the most important thing. And she cannot afford to lose it. That's why she stays, even though she's in that kind of, very difficult. I don't think for some is it's acceptable, but for her, yes, it is because she needs a job. She's so afraid to lose her job, but she keep complaining. That's why I told her, I think if it is okay with you, you can just stop complaining because you will just make yourself uh, like you won't get a positive thing if you tell your story to me and I give you solution and you don't want to follow it, then it's fine. I mean, just accept whatever you are. Just accept your situation and I think you will. So those are the things that there's it change. I don't know, but I think most are negative because a lot of domestic workers was sent back and suffered. But I hope it will improve.
Right. I mean, yeah, you are right with the complexity of COVID-19, like now changing a lot of things. Like, of course, when you know all those conversations that were happening, and people were very interested in certain legal cases that were taking place as well. I was just hoping for maybe a more positive response,
Yeah.
in terms of, like, I have seen this much changes and that, but like I sort of agree with you that I don't know why it seems to me that people are just not willing to take not everyone, of course. I really don't mean to generalize people like that, right? But it sometimes it just speaks to me that people are not willing to speak much about domestic helper rights as often as they should. We talk about like child slavery. We talk about a lot of course, a lot of other important issues that happens in the world. But
Yeah.
when it comes to the one that is in our house, I just feel that sometimes we are so hush about it. How does an activist and a person who lobbies for migrant worker rights, domestic helper rights, combat situations like this? Like, how do you look around it and try to not just help the domestic helpers, but also try and educate like people who like your target audience, like, because I don't want to say everyone, because this is such a topic where I don't know if people still get it yet, that keeping a goddamn phone away from a migrant worker is not okay. I don't think people still get it. I don't know why, but I just have this feeling that I don't think people get it. Not allowing her to have a key is crazy. It is just stupid. But once again, I don't think people get it. So that's why I'm saying, like to a specific target audience, like, why how do you reach out to them, and how do you like try to grow this so that like people will start getting it finally?
Yeah. So for me, basically what I do is like post something on social media. I will write things about how I feel about the situation of migrant domestic workers. And then I'm very thankful for many people also who's helping out. Like there are different NGOs who's been helping the migrant workers here, and not only them, the locals are doing that too. Unlike before when I came here, there's no such thing as NGO. I don't remember anything that I don't know. Like if I encounter a problem, where will I go? I only knew that I can go to our embassy. But recently, there's a lot of, especially those students who's been, you know, helping the migrant workers, who's helping to spread news about how to treat migrant workers here in a right way. You know. So there's many of it now that you can see it in social media. Even for them, they post uh, those things about us, so it helps. So I think that's very good that it's happening now to in this country. So I am really grateful. Like for you also, like you're doing this. Maybe before we don't know each other, but you know we became your project, and so you're giving me a platform to voice out. Like
No, I just think that we are friends, and like I have this weird thing about becoming friends with the entire world.
yeah, okay, that's a
Yeah,
good one.
because I learn so much from y'all. Like I don't know if you remember this. Like after we finished doing the photo shoot, and then like you were sharing with me your poem, and like there was I remember telling you something along the lines of like, "Damn, this should be published," and then you were like, "Oh, I'm actually already published." Then I was like, "Oh wow, okay." It's this kind of small things that we learn, and we grow a bit more respect for the people who do this type of work, because at the end of the day, see, being a domestic helper, I feel like I may not have the right to say this, but I'm just gonna say, like, based off my own understanding of what the job is. It's not an identity, it's just a job. Like, people calling y'all mates, the reason why I asked that question earlier is that when people call y'all mates and create this category that y'all should belong to, I feel that like that kind of thing shouldn't exist. If you're an employee, you're an employee. You shouldn't be like there is already a category for y'all, a domestic helper. Why do we need to call y'all mates? Like, I come from like I come from like a group of friends who all call their domestic helpers auntie, mummy, sister. Like, it boggles my mind when like people feel that they are able to just create a certain category for y'all, fit y'all in there, and say that, this is your social standing, this is what y'all are. We, of course, in today's modern era, cannot call y'all slave, we will call y'all mate. That's what I feel. It's I don't want to use bad words. I'll almost use a bad word. I don't want to use bad words, but it is so it is so
True.
I think, yeah. So okay, anyway, like, this will be a great segue to move into something a bit more lighthearted. I felt that I feel that we have talked about quite a few triggering
Yeah.
stuff. Maybe we should give the audience a bit of a break, and let's talk about your skills, your talent, yeah, for poetry. Let's talk about that a little. Of course, I know this story because we have covered this during the Portraits for Home project. But for the larger audience, let's hear your story and how you got into writing poetry.
Okay. I started writing when I became a volunteer with Home. Because that time, I heard the, the problems of my fellow domestic workers. And that time I thought, like, I need to, I need to let people know what's happening to them, but I don't know how to put it in like social media. I cannot just write anything and rant about it. So that's how I started writing poetry. So my first poem was about like experience of two domestic workers that I put into one poem. Then the second was like for every domestic workers, like it's a sacrifice. So it's leaving their family back home, and then the rest are just inspiration from other people. That's how I started writing, and then I started joining poetry competition. I never win. Every year I will join, but I never win. But I'm thankful that my poem is used in other things, like a web documentary, and then yeah, there's a lot of things that it is used, and then that's how I became a member of Migrant Fighters of Singapore. And then Home also have a book called Our Homes, Our Stories, and I was one of the contributors there. So it is my story about the past years. So I really liked it. I mean, seeing my work in in papers and then people appreciate it, I feel so grateful. And the latest was one of my poems that I wrote for National Gallery Singapore. I'm very proud of it because it was placed beside a very popular painting. The artist was a popular, very important artist in the Philippine history, Fernando Amoy Solo. So I wrote a poem about that artwork, and it was placed. And until now, I just went there 2 weeks ago. Still there beside uh, the artwork, my painting, my poem. Yes. So I'm very grateful for that. And then recently we just launched a book, Call and Response Volume 2.
Right,
So
right.
it is a collaboration between the migrant writers, migrant workers, and the local writers. So we do a call, they do a response. So I'm one of the 4 editors. And yeah, seeing those things makes me really proud of myself that uh, this is one thing that I dreamed of before, and it's slowly happening.
Did you always wanted to be a writer, like back in the Philippines? Like, did you always feel this aspiration to become a writer or a poet or a published author even? Was
I want
this
to be a
ever? Mhm.
journalist. I want
Ah,
to be a
okay,
journalist.
okay, close enough. I
Yeah,
was close enough.
yeah. When I was studying back in the Philippines, I took the wrong course because I thought that, oh, okay, taking commerce, and I thought I want to be an accountant, but I really did good in journalism. So I thought I was kind of like confused. But when I came here, that's how I started, thinking about, like, I really like acting. I really like performing. So I'm into that field. So I think that's how I evolve now, and things that has been happening, and yeah, I'm really really happy that you know
Oh, Bing, I
I'm
I
with
think
this.
where you say things have been happening, I think that's an understatement. Like I think, if people, seriously, if people have not seen like any of your interviews or any articles that you have been on, honestly, they live under a rock. uh, uh, really,
That's
yeah.
But I don't feel that way because, like, on weekdays, Monday to Saturday, I'm still I'm a domestic worker, and I do my work. And even sometimes my employers will laugh if I tell them like how people react, on what I do. But yeah, on at one point, I'm very happy. That's what Ruchita said, that yeah, you are more exposed than us. That's
Yeah,
I don't
exactly,
know
exactly. I
where
I
these people
think
are
like
coming from.
yeah, because I think my our project like got a bit more exposure. Of course, all of y'all are amazing women. Speaking to all of y'all was an amazing experience, and learning some of your stories was incredible. But I think it got a lot of attention probably because of you, because people already knew that you are a published author, and of course there was Joanne as well, and then there's you also, and I think right at that point of time you had given an interview with our local media. I think it was
Conversation.
a yes, yes,
Yeah, I
and
told you about it,
you,
right?
yeah, it was very interesting to hear the experience, and to like be speaking to it is such a weird, maybe not weird, maybe I'm using the wrong word. I don't know what is the right word to use. Oh my god. But maybe it is like it is such a interesting thing to see, like, on one hand this person is a domestic helper. On the other hand, she is on television, she is on newspapers, she is on websites, she's on blogs, she's on articles, blah 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 blah. So, like, how do you identify yourself? Like, are you a writer who is a domestic helper, or are you a domestic helper who is a writer? How do you identify yourself?
Okay, I'm a domestic worker who is passionately, helping my fellow domestic workers. So my way of doing that is to, use every platform that I can use to spread awareness on how to treat domestic workers. Being a migrant writer also is a good thing for me because um, yeah, I can express myself. I can tell them what's been happening to this person through creative writing. I remember when I was one of the panelists for Happiness Initiative. She asked me, "So how do you want me to address you? So a member of migrant writer, or a home volunteer?" Then I said, but I choose home volunteer because that is my first passion. Like, this is a passion. What I'm doing is something that I really love. You know, you, you know, I'm not only doing volunteering or just doing help desk, like going to Lucky Plaza office. I'm doing it on TikTok too, and
Right. Right.
I don't say it worse, but doing TikTok live, I entertain a lot of advice. My home friends was like, they asking me like how many advices you get. Said like 20 in 1 hour. So I was constantly, answering their questions because they have problems with their work. So that's what I do. So my content on TikTok is about helping or giving information to domestic
And
workers.
of course, we will be flashing all the social media of yours all over. I don't know where it's gonna be, but it's gonna be somewhere around here.
Yeah.
We will be flashing all of them up for people to follow you, and like I think it is so interesting to to just see how you use your platforms to speak about all this very hard to understand topics like maybe okay you see like maybe it's the migrant community that might understand this, but I feel that sometimes for the locals, like it can be very difficult for them to try and put themselves in the shoes of a domestic helper, for example. But I guess it is through the work that you guys have been doing that has allowed people to understand a lot more about all the things that happens behind the closed doors. You see, because we
Mhm.
cannot we can only see like the things that happens outside, like maybe for example if a particular event of abuse happened like outside and people took pictures and stuff like that, but this is so personal. You are locked in the house with strangers basically, and what happens in those walls, in between those four walls, like it's so personal. It is very scary. I don't know what I would be doing if I was put in a situation like that. Like, see, I'm already sweating talking about it. Like, I mean, I don't know what I would be feeling if I was to be put in a situation like that where I need to go and live with a family that I do not know for the next 10, 12 years, and I do not know how they are gonna treat me. I do not know how things are gonna turn out. I do not know how often I can speak to my family. I do not know how much I'm going to be paid. I do not know anything. It is so damn scary, and I feel that because of it being this scary, like there really needs to be some structure to how there is. But what I mean is that, like, in terms of the contract making, there really needs to be some structure into how domestic helpers can be hired, or what are their privileges, what are their rights, what they can do and what they can consider not to do, because they are human beings. Like,
Mhm.
is that so difficult to understand?
Yeah, I don't know why it is difficult for some employers to understand that domestic workers are human beings. When people ask me, like, uh, what is your like message, for those employers? How will it change? How will this treatment for domestic workers will change? I always say that, um, when you hire them, it means you're hiring a person, not a material, not anything. This is not a robot. This is a human being. She can be a mother, a daughter, or just she's a woman who will leave her family back home and come to your house. And one thing important is that she's not taking care of just a material thing. She's taking care of the most important thing in your life, your kids, your parents, taking care of you, making meals for you. So
Exactly.
you
Yep.
should start to get to know them, just like, treat them like part of your family. And that's how you will, understand them. I think by understanding a domestic worker, you will be able to provide these things for her, like freedom to talk to her family at any time she wants, as long as it will not, mess up her work. As long as she's really taking care of her kids and not, just and not neglecting them. I mean, explain to them the importance of family, because you want them to take care of your kids. You want them to take care of you, but you don't want her to take care of her family. You think just sending money to her family is the only thing that's the most important thing for them? No, it's not. Hearing her children's voices, their parents' voices, is very important for them, especially at this time. You know. I think for some NGOs who interviewed me, for some, uh, there are different NGOs, different communities who interviewed me, who, like, they spread awareness on treating migrant workers, especially domestic workers, and they are really helping out because uh, it is very important for me to tell them that this should be let out. Like, that's why I asked you earlier, like, will it come out in the social media or this? Because this is what I want to happen every time I get interviews. Like, okay, can you send me a link, or where can I do this? Because if you share it, I will share it too. I will
Right,
share
right,
to
right, right.
different platform, different social media. So that's how I do it. And for other people who will share these things, I can see from the comments or from the shares that they do about this, about what I do. Is like, I can see it's doing good, because people will get to know more. Like, people want to interview me more because they want to know more. I think that's how I know that it's spreading. But the thing is that, yeah, they know, they help out, they spread, but still, how employers react into it.
I wish I could say a lot more. I felt that, of course, at the end of the day, it is not my story to tell. Uh, but I just wish I could say a lot more. Do you sometimes feel this way as well?
Yeah, yeah. I wish I can just say everything that I feel. I wish that, I can just talk to this person that I really want to talk to, and tell them that this is what's happening. Can you do something about it? I mean, yes, I know we are foreigners in this country, but I mean, we're doing good. We're helping people to through our work. We're helping to, we're helping our family, and just just view us as as workers, our employees. Give us the right. I mean, those are the things that I really wish to happen. But yeah, you cannot just anyhow do things here, and I
Right,
really
right, of
respect
course.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really respect that.
So Bing, like having discussed all of these things, like I wanted to end our conversation in a lighter note and like ask you about what is next for you. I mean, you are a very busy woman. Every other like month, I see something you are involved in, and it's always not a small project. It's always something big that you are involved in, and like I feel so happy when I see like yourself, Joanne, or several others who are always being able to live your creative passions and things like that, being able to pursue your creative passions, because like that is what at the end of the day, like I've always been about, like just go do your thing. Don't care what people are going to say, what they are going to like. Everybody is a critic these days. I just feel that when I see the projects that y'all are involved in, and I read the poetry that y'all put out, or I buy the books that y'all publish, it's always nice to see that the like y'all are the ones who are pushing the envelope at this point of time. Like while everyone is worried of whether a space like this is going to give them a chance, y'all are creating opportunities for yourselves. So it's so interesting, and I just want to know like what is next for you. Like do you have anything coming up over the next couple of months, or is there already a list of things that you want to do?
Yeah, supposed to be. I've been doing a kind of like documentary with Rice Media um, this month, but we hold it first, until further notice. And so far, I'm just doing like last week. I did some interviews on with one of our friend Lionel. It's part of his project, but it's part of his his project, and I'm excited to see the results of it. And so far, I'm okay, but I know there are interviews coming up, but it is not a schedule yet. So yeah, I'm still writing. I'm writing poems now. So what I'm planning now is to compile all my poems and just finish the stories that I'm writing. So I
Oh,
don't
right.
know
Is
because
it going
every
to be like
day,
sorry, is it going to be like a solo book that you are
yes,
preparing? Oh, wow. Okay, okay. That's cool. That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah. So I've been talking to people, to friends like who can help me out. Uh, Karine from home, she's back to Netherlands now. She's helping me to edit it. And the illustrator of my book is very, very popular illustrator back in the Philippines. And it's one of his dreams. His name is Robert Alejandro. It's one of his dreams to have a collaboration with a domestic worker. And yeah, so I want to fulfill that. I want to give it to them because he is such a good person. He's such an inspiration. He keeps motivating people every day. That's why I really want to do it and concentrate on that book. And
Oh, that's great.
I
That's
know
great.
there will
Congrats on that.
be. Thank you. And yeah, I don't know what's next for that, but yeah, there's something lined up.
Oh, how about running for president in the Philippines? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Let's not go there. Let's not go there. Philippines, I love you all. Please don't send some secret army to do stuff to me. Please,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah.
Uh,
So yeah, those are the things, and I'm happy, because that's a good thing that's happening to me in this bad situation. And the most important thing is that I'm in good terms, good relationship with my employers, and that's what one of my wish is that I hope every domestic workers here will experience the same thing.
Before we end this conversation, I want everyone who's watching this video to know that the links for where you guys can buy the books that Bing has been a part of, has contributed her story or has contributed her poetry into, will all be linked below, and please go and buy it. If you all don't know, I have this friend who is an IT expert, and he can track who didn't buy the book. So I'll come and find y'all. Huh? I'll come and find y'all for sure. And I'm not a small guy, I can be
Yes.
quite scary. I can be quite scary. So y'all better buy. Understand or not?
Yeah. We're scaring them. Yeah, support the migrant workers.
Yes, please. Yes, I think it's not just about the money, right? It's not just about how much books you all sell. It's also about the stories that are in there that you all want
Yeah.
people to know about. When I read those stories and your poetry, of course, everything was, it was just so new. There was a whole different world that exists in our homes that we had no idea about. It was just so interesting of course these are personal stories, and I don't mean interesting in the sense that I don't mean it disrespectfully. I just feel that for me to suddenly realize that there is a different world within the homes of people, and how this domestic helpers are able to project that world into literary words and stuff like that. That was amazing. You know you guys are such incredible artists, poets,
Thank you.
writers. I just wish I could write the way you do. I wish I could share my emotions the way you do.
You share your emotions through your photography. It's all so amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Sometimes I
Like,
will, I zoom it and really think like, how does he do it? Like, what you can see the message for people.
I
So
think I
you're
think that
just
is, of course, like going back to y'all as well, because if y'all are not the ones providing me the opportunity, I wouldn't be able to take pictures like that, because like see, there are photographers who depend on the subject. I am one of them. Without the subject, there is no me, and yeah, which is why y'all play such an important role in my work, and my work is my life. When I hear all these things like handphone and things, I don't mean to go back to that. I was meaning to end the conversation, but when I hear things like that, it just I think about my own frustration, and then I listen to you speak, and I hear the frustration in your voice. um I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this.
I think my message for everyone, especially those who have domestic workers at home in their family, uh, I hope you will them, treat them as a part of your family. Meaning, like, you know, um, give them freedom to do things for themselves, like talking to their family, treat them as a human being. I think that's the most important thing, and get to know them more. know where they came from, how did they took up the courage to come here and leave their children back home, their whole family back home, and come to this country to work in another country. I think from there you will understand them more, and I think your perception of for this person will change, and she will become a human to you, because normally you just hire them like, okay, you just do the housework. But I hope that it will change. It will change a lot, and hopefully there will be no more.
If that is not clear enough, if that is not an indication that change needs to happen, if that is something that doesn't resonate with you, then really there is something wrong with you, because at the end of the day, like, we are talking about another human being over here. We can scream and shout about what is going on overseas, but we cannot lend our voice to people who leave behind their families, their homes, to come to our country and work in our households, looking after our house, looking after our kids, looking after everything about us. We entrust them with the medication of our parents. We entrust them with the safety of our children. We entrust them with so much, and still, if you're not able to lend your voice, I think you're an idiot. Really, there's no better way there's no other way to say this. I think it is about time that certain things change, and I would like to thank Bing for being able to speak to me and share more about, like, this situations that have been going on, and how through the voice of a migrant worker, of a domestic helper, we are able to learn about this more, because everybody wants to speak for y'all, right? But at the end of the day, sometimes it's also nice to hear from y'all at the same time. I just believe that learning from y'all is the best way that we can learn about domestic helper rights. So thank you, Bing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
that kind of went a bit too much emotional, but I mean, it is what it is. I really respect the things that you all do. So thank you so much, Bing.
Thank you.
Okay.